Right, joining me is my colleague Akshay Dongri. Akshay, what did Pakistan attempt to do overnight?
Well, clearly, Ramesh, and now that we are getting more information directly from officials in the Indian Army and the other Indian armed forces, what happened last night was a tragedy in the making. However, alert armed forces as well as our defense capabilities neutralized this threat. So last night, after being rattled with Operation Sindoor, Pakistan launched a massive air attack at 15 cities of India. Now these include cities from Uttarlai and Bhuj in Rajasthan to Avantipura, Srinagar, Chandigarh, Amritsar. So all of the areas that are of strategic importance were targeted. All of the border areas, border cities were targeted by Pakistani missiles and drones. However, they were captured. They were seen in radars and they were neutralized in the air itself. And that is why at the first light of dawn in the morning, the officials had started looking for the debris of these missiles and these drones that are now being recovered and sent to secure locations. So these were largely major missiles that were launched by Pakistan at 15 different Indian cities, and this was after after the press briefing by the Indian Armed Forces. It was clarified that any response will be retaliated against. Any retaliation of Pakistan will be responded once again by the Indian Armed Forces. India had cleared that it has not targeted any civilian areas, any military facilities or locations. It has only targeted what it mattered to the country for its own security, that were the terror infrastructure and terror groups. However, rattled by the deaths of these terrorists, Pakistan launched attacks on civilian infrastructure deep inside Indian cities, and those all were foiled. And in response, similar kind of retaliation was launched by India, in which there is damage that are being reported from different Pakistani cities, and the most significant one is in Lahore, where an air defense system has been neutralized, and in all likelihood this is the HQ-9 air defense system that is procured by Pakistan from China. It has been showcased as one of the most state-of-the-art air defense system of Pakistan, which now stands neutralized after India retaliated against these attacks against 15 cities. So clearly what we are seeing right now is a country, Pakistan, that refuses to learn from its mistakes, that continues to repeat those same mistakes, and India has walked the talk. It has fulfilled its promise to act in a proper proportion and retaliated against Indian Pakistani cities that included this air defense system of Lahore. So in a way, Pakistan once again, as far as Lahore is concerned, has been blinded as far as their own air defense system and radar capabilities are concerned. However, there seems to be no backing down from Pakistan either. There is continuously shelling going on, artillery strikes, and not at the military areas, because Pakistan realizes that Indian Army and the Indian Armed Forces are prepared for any kind of retaliation. So the response is coming from Pakistan towards civilian areas, densely populated areas, as well as religious sites that included a Gurudwara that was attacked and shelled by Pakistani artillery strikes that has been consistently happening ever since Operation Sindoor was executed. So clearly Pakistan remains rattled, and Indian side is responding with equal and proportionate force.
Akshay, let's break it down for the benefit of our viewers who might not be familiar with the intricacies of the issue at hand here. What about the debris? Now, could that debris, once recovered, be presented as incontrovertible evidence of Pakistani complicity in escalating matters further?
Well, absolutely. In fact, these missiles that have been recovered, they were detonated, so they did not come down at the target and blast. They were neutralized in the air. Their debris has fallen, and sufficient evidence has already been shared by people who have found them in their fields, people or the armed forces who have posted these pictures on social media and other places. So irrevocably, evidence will be given to the Indian Armed Forces, and many of the missiles have also been identified as a Chinese weaponry that has been exported by China to Pakistan. So clearly, Pakistan in itself has no development procurement of any kind of weaponry. It only relies on Chinese exports. So these weapons were used, and they turned out to be of not much use as far as Indian targets were concerned, because as far as air superiority is there, India far exceeds Pakistan's capability, and that is the reason why the Indian cities were safe, because you never know what were the targets of these missiles. However, debris is being found from several of Indian cities where these attacks were foiled. So they can be reverse engineered, they can be studied further, they can also be presented as a proof of what Pakistan tried to do, and the payload and everything can be calculated to understand the intensity with which Pakistan tried to attack Indian cities.
Akshay, you referred to how 15 cities were probably targeted overnight by Pakistan. Could you give our viewers a sense of which cities we are talking about and where all they might have been located? In which states?
Ramesh, that's the most surprising part. These cities are spread from north to western borders with India. So we are not talking about localized attacks. We are talking about wide range of attacks, because these include cities such as Chandigarh, which is a metropolis. We have cities like Amritsar, which is of great spiritual significance to Sikhs and Hindus of the country. The cities included Avantipura, Srinagar, and Jammu and Kashmir, Pathankot, Amritsar, Kapurthala, Jalandhar, Ludhiana. So Punjab was also majorly on radar for Pakistani attacks. Adampur, Bhatinda, Chandigarh, Nal, Falodi, Uttarlai is in Rajasthan, Bhuj. So these were the cities, not only centralized at one state, they were spread across the western and northern borders, and all of these cities were targeted and attacked by Pakistan. So you can imagine the complexity that with which the Indian air defense systems had to, in fact, identify and neutralize these missiles before they could reach the ground and inflict damage on Indian military or civilian areas. It's baffling the kind of response that came from Pakistan. However, the only relief in this entire thing is that every attempt by Pakistan is being foiled by active and alert Indian armed forces.